What's going on, guys? I'm back here with another video, and in this video we're going to be doing if statements. So let's get started. Let's open a new file. Let's press file, save as. Let's change the name to if statements, and let's change the type of the file to Python, and let's press save. So an if statement is written using the if keyword, which means that the word if is reserved in Python. You can't name a variable if, because then Python's going to find an error in that. So let's get started. I'm just going to set up a few variables. A is equal to 2, b is equal to 3. In order to write an if statement, do if, and then put a pair of parentheses, and then put in whatever conditional you want. So a is less than b, and now you have to end it off with a colon, otherwise your if statement won't work. And then press enter, and let's do print the first number is smaller than the second number. Alright, and before we run this, I want to show you something. So do you see this indentation over here? That's Python's way of knowing that this line of code is part of the if statement. And there's other languages like Java which have you put all the code in curly brackets, but Python just does it with indents. So you have to make sure that it's indented properly. Alright, so let's try running this, and we see that it printed out the first number smaller than the second number. Alright. So now let's dig a little deeper. What if the first number became 3? What would we do then? We would use an else statement. So else, which is another keyword. So you would do else, and then you would write the code here. But basically what happens is the else statement runs if this returns false. So let's do print both numbers are equal to each other. Alright, so now let's run this. And so now when we run it, we get both numbers are equal to each other. But what would we do if the second number was smaller than the first number? If the second number was smaller than the first number, our if statement wouldn't account for all possibilities. So this is where the elif statement comes in. Elif is basically saying else if. In elif, you put another conditional to run in case the first conditional is false. So we do elif a is equal to b. We can do both numbers are equal to each other. And now we can do else let's print the first number is greater than the second number. So in Python, the if statement comes first and the else statement comes last. And there's elif statements in between both of them just to account for other possibilities. And you might be wondering why else doesn't have if and elif. That's because there's no if attached to it, and you can only add a conditional if there's an if attached to it. Also notice how each else needs an if. So as you see here, the last else, it matches up to this if. And this else over here matches up to this if. So each else needs to have an if, otherwise the program's gonna be buggy. So let's try running this now, and we get the first numbers are greater than the second number. So let's go into ternary operators, which might sound confusing, but it's not that bad. So basically, if you have only one statement to execute, and it only has one if and one else, you can just write it like this. Print a if a is greater than b, print B. When we run this, we get A because A is greater than B. But you won't be using this as much. I mean, you can use it if you want to, but it's literally the exact same as what we did before. Alright, now let's get into and or. So the and keyword is a logical operator, and it's used to combine conditional statements. So let me add another number. C is equal to 2. If, so we can do if A is greater than B and C is greater than B, then we can print both conditions are true. So basically, the and keyword, it's just combining this conditional and this conditional. So let's run this, and we get both conditions are true. And there's the or keyword, and it's also used to combine conditional statements, but it doesn't require both of them to be true, because in order for the and keyword to run, both conditionals have to be true. But for the or keyword, in order for the or keyword to run, only one of the conditions have to be true. So we can do at least one conditional is true. Let's change B to 2. So this one won't be true, and let's test it out. And we get at least one condition is true, because the first condition is still true. So let's do nested if statements, which is basically an if statement inside of an if statement. And so let me do this. X is equal to 87. So we can do if X is less than 100, print X is less than 100. And now we can have another if statement. Let's do if X is greater than 50, print X is greater than 50. And this works. And if statements inside if statements just make if statements extremely powerful. And finally, there's one last thing called the pass statement. So if statements can't be empty, but you can put pass inside them, which is a keyword. It just tells Python don't put an error here and just keep the program running. And pass statements are often used by developers if they just wanna lay up the groundwork like the if statements, and then they just put pass so they can write the code for it later. Alright, that's basically it for this video. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and hit like if you enjoyed this video.